AITA for refusing to give my brother my apartment because my mom says his voice matters more? Posted in r/am asshole. I, 29M, never thought I'd be posting here, but I genuinely don't know if I'm the one being unreasonable or if my family has finally crossed a line I can't come back from. I need outside perspective because right now I feel like I'm losing my mind. Background. I work as an official court reporter. For those unfamiliar, I'm the person who sits in the courtroom creating the verbatim transcript of everything said during legal proceedings, trials, depositions, hearings, all of it. I've been doing this for 6 years now, and I genuinely love my work. The transcript I create becomes the official legal record. If there's an appeal, if there's a question about what was said, if justice hinges on the exact words spoken, that's my work. My fingers, my skill, my focus. My brother Kyle, 24M, is a podcast host. He started his show, Kyle's Corner, about 3 years ago. He discusses pop culture, interviews minor influencers, and does commentary on trending topics. He has about 45,000 subscribers, which is respectable, and he makes enough to pay his bills most months. I'm genuinely proud of him for building something. Here's where the problem starts. My mother, 54F, has always treated Kyle's career as legitimate and mine as less than. Growing up, Kyle was the communicator of the family. He did speech competitions, drama club, debate team. I was quieter. I found my voice in precision, in accuracy, in capturing what others said with perfect fidelity. Different skills. Both valuable. Or so I thought. For years, my mother has made comments. When I got certified, she said, "That's nice, honey, but when are you going to do something where people actually hear you?" When I got hired at the Superior Court, she asked if I was still just typing what other people say. When Kyle hit 10,000 subscribers, she threw him a party. When I received a commendation for my work on a complex federal case, she forgot to return my call about it for 3 days. I've learned to live with this. It hurts, but I've compartmentalized it. I have my work, I have friends who respect what I do, I have purpose. The current situation. Kyle got engaged 2 months ago to a woman named Meredith, 26F. She's lovely, smart, funny, currently in her 2nd year of law school. I've only met her a handful of times, but she's always been kind to me. Here's the issue. Kyle has been living in a studio apartment. It's small, about 400 square feet, in a decent area. I have a 2-bedroom apartment that I've been renting for 4 years. I worked my way up to afford this place. The 2nd bedroom is my home office where I do freelance deposition work in the evenings. This extra income has allowed me to build savings, pay off my student loans, and actually have financial stability. Last week, my mother called me and told me, not asked, told me, that I needed to trade apartments with Kyle. Her exact words, "Kyle needs the space now that he's getting married. Meredith will expect a proper home. You're just one person doing your little typing thing, you don't need 2 bedrooms." I was stunned. I explained that I use both bedrooms, that my home office is essential to my freelance income, that I've built my life around this apartment. Her response gutted me. "Marcus, be reasonable. Kyle has his own voice that people actually want to hear. He needs a proper space to record his show, to build his brand. What you do is just transcribing what other people say. You could do that anywhere. A studio would be fine for someone who just listens and types." I tried to explain, again, what court reporting actually entails. The years of training. The certifications. The legal weight of my work. The fact that I create the official record that determines whether justice is served. She cut me off. "This is about family, Marcus. Meredith comes from a good family, and they need to see that we communicate well, that we support each other. If you refuse, you'll make Kyle look bad, and then what will her family think of our communication skills?" I said no. I told her I wouldn't be trading my apartment. Since then, she has called me 7 times. Each call has included some variation of, "You're being selfish. Kyle has a platform, people listen to him, he needs space for that. You just write down what other people say, why do you need anything special? This is why you've always been difficult. You never listen to anyone." The irony of being told I never listen, when my entire profession is built on capturing every word with perfect accuracy, is not lost on me. Kyle texted me yesterday. He said, "Mom says you're being weird about the apartment thing." I didn't even ask her to do this, but honestly bro, it would be nice. You know I need the space more than you do. You could do your typing job anywhere. Typing job. I am so tired. I am so tired of creating the official legal record that determines the course of people's lives while my own mother acts like I have no voice. I am so tired of being told that what I do is just typing, while Kyle talks about celebrity drama and gets treated like he's doing something meaningful. I am so tired of being the invisible one who captures everything and is acknowledged for nothing. I haven't responded to Kyle yet. I don't know what to say. Am I the asshole for refusing to give up my apartment? Am I being selfish? Should I just accept that my work will never be seen as valuable to my family and give Kyle what he wants so we can all move on? Edit. I want to be clear, I don't hate Kyle or his podcast. I think what he does has value. I just wish my work was seen as having value too. Is that too much to ask? Update 1. The judge noticed something. Posted 3 weeks later. I wasn't planning to update this, but something happened that I need to process, and you all were so incredibly supportive in the comments that I feel like I owe you this. First, thank you. Thank you to everyone who validated that court reporting is skilled, important work. Thank you to the lawyers, paralegals, and other court reporters who commented explaining what we do. Thank you to the people who saw the pattern in my mother's behavior for what it was. I read every single comment, some of them multiple times, and I cried more than I care to admit. I did not give up my apartment. I told Kyle, via text, that I wouldn't be trading living spaces with him and that I hoped he could respect my decision. His response was a single thumbs-up emoji, which I'm choosing to interpret as neutral rather than hostile. My mother has not taken it as well. She called me unsupportive and jealous of your brother's success at a family dinner 2 weeks ago. I left early. She has since told several extended family members that I'm being difficult about a simple housing arrangement and that she doesn't know what went wrong with me. My aunt called to encourage me to be the bigger person. I declined. But here's what I actually want to tell you about. I work primarily with 3 judges in our Superior Court. One of them is Judge Patricia Holloway, who has been on the bench for 22 years. She's known for being fair, thorough, and remarkably perceptive. I've done hundreds of proceedings in her courtroom. Last Tuesday, we had a complicated civil case, a contract dispute that required meticulous attention to technical language. During a morning recess, Judge Holloway asked me to stay behind for a moment. This isn't unusual. Sometimes judges need to clarify something for the record or discuss scheduling. She sat down in one of the gallery chairs and looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "Mr. Chen, how long have we worked together?" "Almost 5 years, Your Honor. In that time, you have never once provided me with an inaccurate transcript. You have caught attorneys' misstatements that would have affected case outcomes. You have maintained perfect composure through some of the most difficult testimony I've ever presided over. You are, without exaggeration, one of the finest court reporters I have ever worked with." I didn't know what to say. "Thank you, Your Honor," felt inadequate. Then she leaned forward slightly and said something that made me feel like the ground had shifted beneath me. "I've noticed you seem diminished lately. I hope you don't mind my saying that. You still do excellent work, but there's something behind your eyes that wasn't there before. I recognize it because I've seen it before, in domestic violence victims, in people emerging from controlling relationships, in children of parents who made them feel small." I couldn't speak. I literally could not form words. This woman, who I had only ever interacted with professionally, had seen something in me that I had been hiding for 29 years. "I'm not trying to pry into your personal life," she continued. "But I want you to have this." She handed me a business card. Dr. Elaine Whitmore. She specializes in adults who were raised by narcissistic parents. She helped my daughter tremendously. If any of what I've said resonates with you, I encourage you to reach out to her. I took the card. My hands were shaking. "Mr. Chen, Marcus, the work you do matters. The record you create is often the only thing standing between justice and injustice. Your voice is in every transcript you produce, in every accurate word you capture, in every piece of testimony you preserve. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I went home that night and looked at the card for a long time. Then I looked up Dr. Whitmore's website. She had written several articles about invisible children, the ones in families who aren't seen, whose accomplishments aren't celebrated, who learn to make themselves small to accommodate a sibling who takes up all the space. It was like reading my own biography. I called the next morning and made an appointment for the following week. I've now had 2 sessions with Dr. Whitmore. I'm not going to share everything we've discussed. Some of it is too raw, too personal, but I want to tell you what she said in our first session that changed how I see everything. "Marcus, you were trained from childhood to believe that your voice doesn't matter. But what you do professionally is preserve other people's voices when they matter most, when they're giving testimony that could change their lives, when they're speaking truth to power, when their words become part of the permanent legal record. You do for others what was never done for you. That's not a coincidence. That's adaptation. And it's also a form of profound empathy." I had never thought of it that way. I chose this profession because I believed other people's words were worth preserving. Because I understood, on some deep level, how terrible it feels to speak and not be heard. She also said something else that I'm still sitting with. Your mother has created a family system where your brother is the voice and you are invisible. But consider this, podcasts are ephemeral. Entertainment. Your brother speaks into a microphone and his words float away. You capture words that become law. You create permanence. Your work will be referenced in legal decisions for decades. Which of you truly has a voice that lasts? I don't say this to diminish Kyle. I'm working on not seeing everything as a competition, because that was also part of the family dynamic. Everything was Kyle versus Marcus, and Kyle always won. But I'm starting to understand that I don't have to win against Kyle. I just have to stop losing against myself. I'll update again when there's something to tell. Update 2. Meredith found out. Posted 6 weeks after original. Things have developed rapidly, and I owe you all another update. First, therapy is going well. Dr. Whitmore has been helping me establish boundaries with my mother, something I've never really done before. I've limited our calls to once a week, and when she starts comparing me to Kyle or diminishing my work, I've started saying, I'm not going to discuss this with you. And then I change the subject or end the call. It's uncomfortable. It feels wrong, like I'm being rude. But Dr. Whitmore reminds me that setting boundaries isn't rude, it's necessary. The discomfort I feel is the result of years of being trained to accept mistreatment. My mother does not like the new me. She's told my aunt that I'm being cold, and that she's worried about my mental health. The irony of her worrying about my mental health while being the primary threat to it is, again, not lost on me. But that's not the big news. The big news involves Meredith. Remember how I said she was in her second year of law school? Well, apparently, she had a court observation requirement for one of her classes. She was assigned to spend 3 days observing proceedings in various courtrooms. Completely by coincidence, or maybe fate, one of those days was in Judge Holloway's courtroom. While I was working, I didn't notice her at first. I was focused on a particularly contentious hearing involving expert testimony in a product liability case. Multiple experts, rapid cross-examination, technical terminology, the kind of case where one missed word could be catastrophic. I was in the zone. During a recess, Meredith approached me. Marcus, I didn't know you worked here. I explained that I'd been at this courthouse for several years. She seemed genuinely interested, asking me questions about the equipment I use, how fast I type, how I handle multiple speakers talking at once. I showed her my stenotype machine and explained the phonetic chord system. She was fascinated. This is incredible, she said. I had no idea this was what court reporting involved. In my mind, I guess I pictured someone just typing really fast. But this is like its own language. I smiled and said something like, most people don't realize what's involved. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. Wait, is this what Kyle's mom meant when she said you do typing work? She made it sound like, I don't know, like data entry or something. I didn't know how to respond. I think my face must have shown something because her expression shifted from curious to concerned. Marcus, what exactly has Kyle's mom said about your work? So I told her. Not everything, not about the apartment situation, not about the childhood dynamics, just about how my work had always been characterized by my mother. Just typing what other people say. Not having my own voice. Nothing special. Meredith's face went through several stages, confusion, disbelief, and then something that looked a lot like anger. That's completely wrong, she said. Marcus, I'm in law school. Do you know how many times my professors have talked about the importance of the record? About how appeals live or die based on what's in the transcript. Last week we studied a case that was overturned because a court reporter caught a mistranslation that would have resulted in a wrongful conviction. The official record is everything. I didn't know what to say. Someone from outside my family, someone who was about to become family, was seeing my work clearly. It was disorienting. I want to know more, she said. Not right now, because I need to get back for the next session. But can we get coffee sometime? I want to understand what's been happening. We met for coffee 3 days later, and I told her everything. The apartment situation. The years of being overlooked. The party for Kyle's subscribers. The forgotten phone calls about my commendations. The comments, the dismissals, the constant message that my voice didn't matter. Meredith listened without interruption. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "This makes so much sense now." "What do you mean?" Kyle talks about you like you're, I don't know, like you're this vaguely disappointing presence that the family has to work around. Not mean, exactly, but dismissive. And whenever I've tried to ask about what you do, he changes the subject. I thought it was just sibling stuff, but now I'm seeing it's a whole family pattern. She paused, then said something I wasn't expecting. I'm not going to marry into a family that treats people like this without addressing it. I must have looked alarmed because she quickly added, I'm not breaking up with Kyle. I love him. But I love him enough to believe he can be better than this. And if he can't, if this is who he actually is at his core, then I need to know that before we get married. She asked my permission to talk to Kyle about what I'd told her. I hesitated, worried about causing conflict. But Dr. Whitmore's voice was in my head. Secrets protect the people who benefit from dysfunction. Truth serves everyone's long-term well-being. I said yes. I didn't hear anything for a week. Then Kyle called me. Hey bro, can we talk? In person. Update 3. My brother found his real voice. Final update. Posted 3 months after original. I promised a final update, and I want to deliver it while everything is still fresh. Kyle and I met at a coffee shop near my apartment. I was nervous, genuinely nervous, in a way I hadn't been with my brother since we were kids competing for our mother's attention. Which, I now realize, was never actually a fair competition because the winner was predetermined. He looked different. Tired, maybe. Or thoughtful in a way I wasn't used to seeing from him. Marcus, I need to apologize to you. I hadn't expected him to lead with that. In our family, apologies were rare, and when they happened, they usually came with qualifications. I'm sorry, but... I'm sorry you feel that way. But Kyle just sat with those words. Then he continued. Meredith told me about your conversation. At first, I was defensive. I wanted to argue, to explain, to tell her she was taking things out of context. But she asked me to just listen. So I did. And then she asked me questions I couldn't answer. Like what? Like when was the last time I asked about your work? When was the last time I congratulated you on something? When was the last time I defended you to Mom? He paused. I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember a single specific time. I didn't say anything. There wasn't anything to say. He was right. Meredith made me realize that I've been parroting Mom my whole life. She praised me, so I thought I was worth praising. She dismissed you, so I thought you were worth dismissing. I never questioned it. I just absorbed it and acted accordingly. He took a breath. This was clearly hard for him. Part of me, the resentful, wounded part, wanted him to struggle with it. But a larger part, the part Dr. Whitmore has been helping me nurture, felt something I hadn't expected, compassion. Because Kyle was also shaped by our mother's dysfunction. He was just shaped in a different direction. Meredith is insisting on couples therapy before the wedding. Not because our relationship is in trouble, but because she wants to make sure we're not building a marriage on, her words, inherited dysfunction. I agreed. And my therapist has also recommended that I do individual work specifically on family dynamics. He looked at me directly for the first time since we'd sat down. I've been doing some reading about what court reporters actually do. I had no idea, man. Honestly, no idea. The certifications, the years of training, the responsibility. I thought it was like, I don't know, like being a secretary or something. He winced. That sounds terrible to say out loud. It does, I agreed. But I appreciate you saying it. At least you're being honest. I was so focused on my own platform, my own audience, my own voice, that I never considered what you were doing, what you were building. And the thing is, Marcus, my podcast, it's entertainment. It's fine. People listen, they forget, they move on. But what you do, it becomes part of the legal record. Forever. It affects real outcomes for real people. Kyle leaned back in his chair and made a sound that was half laugh, half exhale. Meredith put it to me like this, Kyle, your brother creates the permanent record of how justice is served in this country. You talk about which celebrity wore what to the Met Gala. Why does your family act like he's the one who should be invisible? That's pretty direct. She's a lawyer. Or will be. Direct is her thing. He smiled, but it faded quickly. I'm not going to pretend everything's fixed. I've spent years absorbing Mom's narrative. That doesn't undo overnight. But I'm working on it. And I wanted you to hear that from me directly. Not through Meredith, not through a family group chat. Just me telling you, I see you now. And I'm sorry I didn't see you before. This was more than I had ever expected from Kyle. More than I'd ever allowed myself to hope for. "What about the apartment situation?" I asked. He shook his head. "I was never even that invested in it. That was mostly Mom, pushing her agenda. Meredith and I found a one-bedroom that's actually closer to her school. We're good. And honestly, even if we hadn't found something, I wouldn't ask you to give up your space. Your home office is part of how you do your work." I get that now. We talked for 2 more hours. About our childhood. About the dynamics we'd both been subjected to. About our mother, who we both agreed we loved but who we also recognized had caused real damage to both of us, just in different ways. Kyle was the golden child, which came with its own burden, the constant pressure to perform, to be charming, to be the family's representative. I was the invisible one, which came with freedom from that pressure but at the cost of feeling fundamentally unseen. Neither position was healthy. Both of us were working on healing. The wedding. Kyle and Meredith got married 6 weeks ago in a small ceremony. Not the huge event my mother had been pushing for, just 40 people in a botanical garden. Meredith had put her foot down about the guest list, refusing to invite extended family members who she felt had enabled dysfunction. My mother was present. Muted. Meredith had apparently had a conversation with her about acceptable behavior at the wedding that involved phrases like, "I will not have my wedding day disrupted by family drama," and, "If you cannot say something kind about both of your sons, please say nothing at all." Mom has been walking on eggshells around Meredith ever since. Part of me finds this satisfying. Part of me finds it sad. Dr. Whitmore says both feelings can be true. During the reception, Kyle stood up to give a speech. I expected the usual, thank the guests, praise the bride, tell a funny story. Instead, he said this. "Most of you know that I have a podcast. I've built a modest platform where I get to share my opinions and interview people and generally talk for a living. It's something I'm proud of, and I'm grateful for everyone who listens. But I want to take a moment to acknowledge someone whose work matters in a way mine never will." He turned to look at me. I felt my face flush. My brother Marcus is a court reporter. 4 years, I didn't really understand what that meant. I'd absorbed the idea that he was just typing, just transcribing other people's words. But I've learned recently that what he does is create the official legal record, the permanent document that determines whether justice is served. Every appeal, every legal decision, every case that sets precedent, it depends on people like Marcus capturing every word with perfect accuracy. His work has helped convict criminals and exonerate the innocent. His work becomes part of the permanent historical record. Kyle's voice caught slightly. Meredith reached up and squeezed his hand. "I've had a loud voice my whole life. I've been praised for it, encouraged to use it, told it mattered. And it does matter. Connection and entertainment and conversation all matter. But I've been humbled recently to realize that while I was busy talking, my brother was quietly documenting everything that actually matters. He gave voice to witnesses and victims and experts and attorneys. He preserved words that will be referenced for decades. And I never once acknowledged that." He raised his glass. "To Marcus, who taught me that recording others' words is its own crucial form of speech. I'm proud to be your brother." The room applauded. Several people were crying. I was definitely crying. After the toast, Kyle found me. "I meant every word." "I know," I said. "Thank you. I have an idea, by the way, for the podcast. I want to start doing a series on people who work behind the scenes in the legal system. Court reporters, stenographers, legal transcriptionists, interpreters. People whose work is invisible but essential. Would you be willing to be my first interview?" I said yes. Where we are now. Kyle's new podcast series launched 2 weeks ago. The first episode features me explaining what court reporters do, how we're trained, the pressure of creating a record that justice depends on. The second episode features one of my colleagues who specializes in real-time transcription for deaf and hard-of-hearing individuals. The third features a legal interpreter who works in immigration court. The response has been overwhelming. Kyle's audience has more than doubled. Apparently, people do want to hear about the invisible work that holds systems together. Several court reporters have reached out to thank me for helping to explain what we do. A court reporting school in the Midwest is using the episode as a recruitment tool. Judge Holloway listened to the full episode and told me, "This is exactly the kind of advocacy our profession needs." My mother has opinions about all of this, I'm sure. But I've stopped asking for them, and she stopped offering them quite as freely since Meredith entered the picture. We have a careful, cordial relationship now. She'll never be the mother I wished for, but I've stopped expecting her to be. Dr. Whitmore recently told me that the goal of our work isn't to make my mother change. It's to change my relationship with myself, to stop seeing myself through her dismissive eyes and start seeing myself clearly. The validation I longed for from my family was never going to come in the form I wanted. But I'm learning to validate myself. To recognize that my work matters. That my voice, expressed through perfect transcription, through accurate records, through the preservation of words that change lives, has always mattered. I'm still a court reporter. I still sit in Judge Holloway's courtroom, capturing every word, creating the record. But I no longer feel invisible. I no longer feel like I'm just typing. I'm documenting justice. I'm preserving truth. I'm giving permanent voice to moments that matter. And finally, after 29 years, I understand that this has always been enough. Final edit. To everyone who has sent messages, shared their own stories, or simply validated that my work matters, thank you. I have read every single one. For those of you who recognized your own family dynamics in my story, please know that it gets better. Therapy helps. Boundaries help. And sometimes, the family you have can become the family you need. It just takes time, honesty, and people willing to grow. Be well, everyone. Marcus.